Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Donna. Today is the first video of many for the Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge. Today's letter is the letter A, and I have chosen the word apple as my inspiration. We're going to be using the Harvest Hellos stamp set as well as the Apple Builder punch that coordinates with it, and both of these items are available in the new annual catalog. That's a picture of the card that we're going to be making today. You will also need some real red, whisper white, crumb cake, daffodil delight, granny apple green, shaded spruce, and early espresso cardstock. The sizes are on the screen there. I'm going to start by stamping the apple out using Memento Tuxedo black ink. I'm doing two only because I made a couple of cards, but you only need one for each card. Because I'm stamping two, I'm actually going to be flipping the cardstock around just so I can hold the cardstock in my left hand as I'm punching. But again, you only really need one apple for each of the cards. And then I'm going to take the scrap of early espresso as well as a scrap of shaded spruce and stamp out the stems and the leaves. I am just checking the punch to make sure that I can punch it easily enough and it's right in the right orientation. I just had to grab some shaded spruce there. I forgot that the first time around. Because I'm making two cards, you don't see the second card, but I am making two cards, so I needed at least 6 of the leaves, so I'm not counting them. I'm just making sure I have a bunch of them there ready to be punched out. Then I'm just going to grab the punch, and starting with the granny apple green, you will see what I mean by flipping it around so that I can punch easier, because I prefer to punch with the punch in my right hand and holding the paper in my left. And now I'm just going to slide that paper out and then flip her around to punch the other one. Going to do that to the other two colors of apples and then punch the stems and the leaves as well. This is a very useful punch to have. Even without the stamp set, you can get the apples to have a lot of definition just with some shading or a gel pen. You will see that in the card samples at the end of the video. Now I decided my card front needed something extra on it, so I'm using the buffalo check stamp and some real red ink just to stamp that on so that the edge around had a little bit of extra definition on it. Using the piece of crumb cake that we had cut out earlier, I'm just putting little pencil marks 1/2 inch in on the bottom from each side. Then I'm going to cut from the corner and down to those pencil marks. This will give me the basket shape that I need. Now I'm going to take an embossing folder, the basket weave embossing folder. I'm going to take some crumb cake ink and just kind of swipe it on the inside front of it and then send that through with the cardstock piece inside, send it through my Big Shot machine. I'm also using the Scripty 3D embossing folder on one of the pieces of whisper white for the card front. Going to send them through and then I'll be back with those two completed pieces. Now I'm going to take some crumb cake and I'm just going to sponge some on all the way around the edge of that basket. As well, I'm going to take the piece that I embossed with the Scripty 3D embossing folder. I'm going to just kind of tap the edge into the ink pad as well, just to give it a little bit of definition. Then I'm going to take the sponge and just very gently swipe it over the raised edges of the piece so the lettering kind of shows up just a little bit better. Once that's done, I'm actually going to glue some of these pieces down. Going to take the front piece first and just glue that down with some liquid adhesive. You of course can use your favorite form of adhering things, like even tape runner or a snail would work fine. I just find because this is embossed, it has a lot of little crevices, so I prefer glue for that type of stuff. I have more faith that it's going to stick down and stay down. As you can see, the buffalo check didn't really add a lot. It just added a little bit of design on the outside edge. Now I'm going to spend some time and sort out where exactly I wanted the apples to go. I did spend more time than was really necessary because there's not really too much space there that you can really choose from. So the first two did overlap. I wanted the red apple in front because that was the same color as the card base. So I wanted it in the middle and at the front. And when I finally figured that out, I do glue down the green and then the yellow. And then I'm going to attach the stems and the leaves. And I think the easiest way for me to do that was using the sticker maker. You could probably use a glue dot, or if you're very careful, just a little bit of glue. But I did end up using my sticker maker. I don't normally use that for a lot of items because I find that there's a lot of waste and it's expensive to replace the refills. But in this, because the pieces are so tiny, it really helped a lot to have that handy. I'm going to attach the stem and the leaf. I want the stem just kind of slightly behind the apple. So that's why I stopped to do that now before I attach the red one and before my glue totally dried. And then I will put some glue on the red apple and attach that as well. Just testing this placement again. And then I'm going to use some liquid adhesive to also attach the basket. Now I need a sentiment for the front of the card. I'm going to use the stitched rectangles, one of the stitched rectangles. But you could just cut it out on your paper trimmer, just a simple square, and stamp that out. The first time I'm using scrap paper right now. First time I stamped it out, I didn't like it, so I just stamped it again. And then I spent a few minutes, or a few seconds really, trying to find where I put that stitched rectangle that I wanted to use. Of course I did find it, but it was underneath my card. I just hate that when that happens. Especially when you know it's there, it's got to be there, and you just don't know where it went to. And there it is. So I'm going to run that through my Big Shot. And then I'm going to take some crumb cake and tap on some color around the outside edge of that as well. I just felt it needed something to make it stand out a little bit from the background. I was going to use a sponge to sponge some on, but I did not want it to take over the whole piece. And sometimes when a piece is that small, sometimes your sponging would just take over. So I just tapped it onto my ink pad just to give it a little tiny bit of an edge on it. Then I'm going to take some dimensionals and just attach some dimensionals to the back and attach it to the front of the card. Okay, at this point things went a little crazy. I'm using some real red to stamp out the apple. But then my camera shut off at one point and you don't see me stamping out the little sentiment that I put off to the side. I also lost the stem, and so at this point it took me about an hour and a half to find the stem, get my battery charged up, and get started again. And you can see I was a little frustrated with that little guy. So once I stamped out the stem and the leaf, I attached it to the inside of the card, and that pretty much finishes off this card, except that I decided to attach a little bow to the front of the basket. I'm just using some real red trim that I had around and attaching it with a glue dot. These are very bright and cheerful cards. It's just amazing what you can do with the punch, and then if you add the stamp set, there's just so many different things you can do. The punch is actually a pumpkin as well, as you'll see in one of my cards in a second. This card here is a little bit different. I stamped them out and then cut them out all as one whole instead of using the punch. And then I formed a little pocket and just slid them into the pocket on the front of that card. I just thought it was kind of a little bit different. This one I did a little bit of spraying on the back. And then a more plain one. This one has the gel pen as stitched lines around the apples without any stamping on the apples, which I think is kind of cool as well. There's another one. I didn't do anything on those apples, but I did make the basket bigger. You can really see the buffalo check in the background. And there's one of the pumpkins. And on this one here, this is where I just did the shading with the coordinating color of ink with a sponge. I hope this video has inspired you to create some beautiful cards today using the letter A. Please remember to head on over to the Facebook group that I have dedicated just for this challenge. The link will be in the comments below. If you'd like to see more of the Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time I upload another video. Thanks for watching, and you have a wonderful day.